Hello, hello, hello. It is me, your true heel phenom SP3, back once again. This is like a countdown as well as a therapy session. I am with my good friend, our great ambassador of all things that is alcohol. He is the one, the only, the host of Going Raw with Drunk Guy JJ, the aforementioned Drunk Guy JJ. How you doing, Drunk Guy?
Oh man,
Well, he doesn't have a
my
lot of.
child feels my pain. My child feels my pain. Today is the first day, or as of recording, this is day one of WrestleMania. WrestleMania is emanating from the Performance Center, where Jaquan cannot attend. So he is with his good brother SP3 right now. Trying to take my mind off things. Of course, she's drinking. Got all the WrestleMania crap on like a mark. The
He's in
cups. Just
deep
he's going through it right
depression.
now. Yeah, he's going through it right now. But yeah.
Well, this is not altogether a therapy session. This is our top 10 best WrestleMania matches of all time. We're going to break them down. We're going to break down all 10 matches. We've done our research. We've rewatched these matches and we've rewatched them to give Jaquan, Drunk Guy JJ, some happiness in his time of depression right now. So before we get on into our top 10, do you have like an honorable mention or your favorite WrestleMania memory that makes you happy right now as you're kind of depressed?
Oh, oh man, this is a touchy subject. My first mania, my first WrestleMania, WrestleMania 20 from the Garden. I was 11 years old, and ironically enough, my first mania was the God's first WrestleMania when he had a good match with. Actually, now I think about it, that kind of is like if people know me, they would know that's kind of like a historic mania for me. Now I think about it, because that was The Rock's last match for what 7 years, 8 years, and that will also be Orton's first Mania match. So yeah, that was a good time. That was a good time. Shitty seats, but I'm a kid. But us as kids, we don't really care about that.
Exactly.
Orton, yeah, Orton bringing back the waterfall Pyro Mania 33, even though that match with Bray was god awful. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
this is a bunch. My first Mania week for 33. Going to Mania 29 with my own money. Yeah, 27.
I
My
did as
first time
well.
going out for Mania. So yeah, it
Okay.
was. I've had a lot of good Mania moments. This would have been a good Mania week too, but this bitch ass Corona wants to ruin things. So fuck you, Corona. Heel of the year. It's only April, but it's okay.
It is. It
Inshallah, we
is.
cover some day.
It's definitely the true heel of the year. So, do you have an honorable mention before we get into the top 10?
Match wise, actually, first triangle ladder match, Edge Christian Hardy's. Also, I don't think is it on the list at 30. Dane Bryan, Triple H, I thoroughly enjoyed.
Yeah,
WrestleMania
Brian,
26 as
Brian
well.
and
Shawn Michaels.
Brian and Triple H was actually our number two top in our top 10 opening matches in WrestleMania
Matches.
history.
Yeah. WrestleMania 26, Shawn Michaels Taker Part 2. Yeah. Couple honorable
I
mentions.
would say that that's like one of definitely my honorable mentions. I definitely got to mention a match that we just recently just watched, Shawn Michaels versus Ric Flair for WrestleMania
Declare
24.
absolutely
Uh,
great
and
storytelling match.
we couldn't have that many Shawn Michaels matches, as you'll see. There's a lot of them
Exactly.
to
We had to be fair.
but we had to be fair and kind of spread out the love. And Shawn Michaels versus Y2J from WrestleMania 19, another classic,
WrestleMania
as well as
19,
Kurt Angle
absolutely.
versus Brock Lesnar from WrestleMania 19. So
19.
let's get into it. Coming in at number 10, it is the earliest WrestleMania, classic WrestleMania matchup that we could include on this list here. Coming in at number 10, we have the Macho Man Randy Savage defending the Intercontinental Championship against Ricky the Dragon Steamboat from WrestleMania 3. I'll lay it out for you guys. This all started when the two were feuding over the Intercontinental Championship in early 1987, late 1986, Savage took out Ricky the Dragon by dropping the ring bell on his throat and taking Ricky the Dragon out for a number of weeks. Ricky the Dragon came back to counteract Liz and Ricky and Macho Man's corner. Ricky the Dragon got one of Macho Man's old rivals, George the Animal Steel, in his corner, and these guys behind the scenes laid out a match from start to finish. That's how Macho Man Randy Savage did it, and did it spot for spot and just nailed it down in this matchup. What was your thoughts on this match when you rewatched it?
Definitely a match ahead of its time. And today, even that's 87. So we're in 2020, still holds up well. And a lot of our favorite wrestlers growing up, that was their favorite match. And it explains why, because it's such a classic, such a technical, just spot for spot. Ricky Dragon Steamboat, I feel like he doesn't get the credit he deserves.
He really doesn't.
Anyway, he's had so many classic matches. And even a sleeper when he came back and had the match with Jericho at Backlash. Like, still doing this thing. So definitely a great match and way ahead of his time and still holds up now. 33 years later? It's crazy.
Like I feel for me as like a kid that like grew up as Macho Man was a baby face, I love rewatching this matchup and really seeing Macho Man at his apex as like a heel, just that like that nasty heel, and like him as the Intercontinental Champion. He's one of the greatest Intercontinental Champions of all time, and this matchup is like that stamp of approval for his entire reign. And it's just like you said, way ahead of his time. The pace in the match, the storytelling, the near falls back and forth. It's just all the classic
even the
things
finish, it's one thing that back then gets a lot of credit for. They had a lot of classic finishes. It didn't make, in the way they end the match, it didn't always make either person look bad. It was always executed finish for mostly Steamboat matches. Go figure. So yeah, props to that match for sure.
And I definitely agree with you. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat is probably one of the most underrated performers of all time. Coming in at number 9, we have our first triple threat on our list from WrestleMania 30. Another one, kind of connection to one of our honorable mentions that we mentioned. We have Randy Orton defending the WWE World Heavyweight Championship versus Batista versus Danny O'Brien from WrestleMania 30. This was the main event of WrestleMania 30, the culmination of the Danny O'Brien versus the Authority storyline. Danny O'Brien defeated Triple H in the beginning of the night to earn his spot here. This was after months and months of the Authority stopping Danny O'Brien from becoming the World Heavyweight Champion, and then finally him getting this moment. This is kind of like the son of another match that we're about to mention as well, because there's a lot of similarities in these two matchups, but it's just a tremendous matchup. Like, you go watch it today and it's still a great match. What was your thoughts on it?
Orton got robbed. He was never pinned or submitted in the match. He had a great entrance. Rev Theory paid him to the ring. One of the greatest WrestleMania entrances of all time. Shout out to Rev Theory. The Viper God went in, did his thing, and, Batista fucked it up. He ruined it for him. He just ruined it all, just like how Corona ruined WrestleMania. It's a theme. It's getting in the way of greatness. It's terrible. But in all seriousness, it was a great match, a great moment. Daniel Bryan was well deserved, and to see a guy like him, who honestly, if he wasn't supposed to even be in the match to begin with. It was supposed to be probably a shit fest with Orton and Batista, but
it would have been rough.
In that match, it would have definitely been rough. But they came in, they had a great match, and then even the sequences, the ending was dope. Batista and them doing the first Batista bomb to the RKO to the announce table. Bryan almost pretty much getting carried to the back. He comes by fighting like the underdog that he was, wins the title. A great moment, a great match, a great Mania. So
I felt like this is
deserves to be top 10.
This match was definitely from out of the Attitude Era, but in the good way, where the overbooking kind of mirrored the road to the matchup. In a lot of ways, it's very comparative to like all the interferences in like Rock versus Triple H from Backlash. You had to get Stephanie and Triple H, the Authority, the crooked referee that screwed Danny O'Brien. You had to get all of them involved in this threat match to kind of tell the whole complete story of Daniel Bryan in one match.
God damn it, Bryan's about to get screwed again. Come on.
Exactly. So coming in at number 9, that was Orton, Batista, and Bryan from WrestleMania 30. And like I said, let's talk about that match's father from WrestleMania 20. It's our number 8. Our number 8 pick from WrestleMania 20. It is Triple H defending the World Heavyweight Championship versus the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels and Chris Benoit. Yes, we can say that name on True Hill Heat. Not in the
Yeah, we
WWE.
don't work for the company, so.
We can say that name. So this matchup is just amazingly paced. Like rewatching this matchup, I remember how like great it was because it wasn't your standard triple threat match. How it was always at triple threats up until like this match. Another early like triple threat that was around this time, a couple of years before it, was Angle, Taker, and Rock, which they kind of like did more spots to kind of involve all three guys in different sequences, and then the overall story of in the end of the natural born rivals of Triple H and Shawn Michaels finally working together because they wanted to take out Chris Benoit, giving him the double suplex through the table. And so they can fight out with each other when they're both like bleeding and they both like have that face off. Triple H on the
Sean
outside,
was
Michael.
leaking.
It's one of the best moments of that match. And then Benoit coming up from all of that and overcoming both guys to make Triple H tap out in the ring. It's one of the best moments and best endings to any WrestleMania. So, what was your thoughts on it?
Being my first Mania, definitely that match definitely holds a special place for me. Of course, not for the company, but it was definitely a great match. That whole ending sequence when Shawn tried to get Benoit, he fixed Shawn out the ring, and Triple H comes to go for the pedigree, gets into the crossface, and he didn't want to tap. Then it looks like he was about to pass out. This stuff, oh man, I don't know why I just got hyped for that, but definitely that was definitely a great match. Easily one of my favorite triple threats, one of my favorite Mania main events, period. And then the ending sequence where Eddie comes out, Benoit hug, because Eddie had just defended the title earlier that night, and they really overcame a lot, together, a team, tandem, faction, whatever you want to call it. And to have that good ending with Benoit was well deserved. Well, he got the title, Lord knows how many times in the WWE, and he finally gets that shot on the in the Garden. That's nothing more you can ask for.
Great moment, great matchup. That was our number 8. Coming in at number 7, we got another one from Madison Square Garden from WrestleMania 10. The opener from WrestleMania 10, our number 1 of our top 10 best WrestleMania opening matches. Bret the Hitman Hart versus Owen Hart from WrestleMania 10. What was your thoughts on this matchup? Because in my eyes, out of all the matchups that were like 20 years old or like over a decade old, this is the one that holds up the most to me. And I think that's why it's a little bit higher than like Savage and Steamboat. But for a match from 1994, if it happened in 2020, it would still be one of the best matches of the year to me.
You got two great technical wrestlers, Bret and Owen. And then how the rivalry going into it, Owen trying to be better than his big brother. In my opinion, one of the best. Owen trying to be better than Bret. All the the little thing he had to do to definitely the best match of almost the best match of that show. They were going to have another great match, of course, at SummerSlam in the cage, but definitely a great way to start off. And then it made Owen look good heading into his career, even though he never got to the top like he should have been. But that was another great moment. Even though Bret still had his moment that night, but definitely made Owen look good heading into the rest of his career up until
till everything happened. But this was the matchup that definitely put over both guys because Owen had to go up to Bret's level, and this matchup legitimate. It made Owen for the rest of the year the top heel in the company. He defeated the best wrestler in the world at the time, the best wrestler in the company. In great
company at the time, basically.
Yeah, and a great back and forth contest. I love the teases for the sharpshooter, and then eventually it's Owen that locks the sharpshooter on Bret. Bret reverses it, but Owen gets into the rope, and that leads us to the finish where Bret tries to do one of his many pinning combinations. Because if you watch like the early '90s Bret the Hitman Hart, he won a lot of matches. If it wasn't by the sharpshooter, he just had a number of different pinning combinations he won by. He won I think he won the 1993 King of the Ring by doing the victory roll to Bam Bam Bigelow. So he tries it against Owen. So it's a nice callback to a classic Bret Hart match. Tries it against Owen. Owen reverses and gets the win in Madison Square Garden in front of the world at WrestleMania. It's a classic matchup. If you haven't seen it, definitely go out your way and see it because it still holds up today. Coming in
Secret Mania too.
Yeah, and speaking of that, good segue. Coming in at number 6 from WrestleMania 10 as well. It arguably this is why WrestleMania 10 I feel like holds up very well. It's a top 10 mania to me. I don't know about to any of you watching or to Drunk Guy JJ, but it's a top 10 mania to me because it had 2 5-star matches, and this is the other one coming in at number 6. You have Razor Ramon versus the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels in a ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship. This is the first, the second ever ladder match in the company's history, but the first majorly televised ladder match in mainstream pro wrestling. So, what was your thoughts on the matchup?
Oh shit! Hold on. A great ladder match. A good way. Of course, people want to call right now. Oh, great ladder match. Definitely. The beginning of Shawn's Mr. WrestleMania gimmick, honestly, because that was his first classic match. Head into it. The story, of course, Shawn having to give up the belt, Razor coming in as champion. Shawn was pretty much, oh my god, pretty much crowned. Oh god, I don't even want to pause the video. Hold on. God damn it.
So yes, Razor Ramon versus the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels, the ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship from WrestleMania 10. That is our number 6. What was your thoughts on this match, Drunk Guy?
A classic match, a match that paved the way for a lot of matches to come. Shawn, of course, having a belt, Razor having a belt because Shawn had to forfeit it. But he was still kind of claiming himself the real Intercontinental Champion.
Well, he got busted for a steroid test. We'll keep it real on Drew. They got busted for a steroid test. They told him to relinquish the Intercontinental title, and he was like, "I'm not giving the belt back."
He said, "Nope." And then and then the sequence, that whole match was just great. The Shawn doing the dive off the ladder, probably one of the first, honestly, I would say one of the first big hot spots in wrestling WWE.
Yeah,
and
ladder at least, yeah.
Yeah, Razor winning, of course, winning the match. It's everything. Shawn's ass out in the ladder match was it's a lot of a lot of crazy things going on in that match. And definitely another match that's ahead of its time. That still holds up to this day. And honestly, still one of the best ladder matches of all time. Shawn and Razor really went out there and did their thing, especially for a match that never been seen worldwide. For them to really put their stamp on that type of match is definitely a great one. Definitely a great one.
It really was it's a match that set a standard. It's an innovator because they just were able to tell their story with the ladder involved, and they made the ladder basically a third person or third thing in the match. It was the story of Shawn, Razor, and the ladder. So that was why it was just at 1994 stuff like that wasn't really thought of in wrestling.
Not even going down.
You had different weapons you can evolve in these no holds barred match, these street fights, these lights out matches. You had a steel cage match. You could throw the guy into the steel cage, rub their head in the steel cage, but to involve a ladder and slingshot the guy into the ladder and do a splash while you're riding the ladder down into the guy's gut, and then a splash from the top of the ladder. These things were not thought of in professional wrestling until Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon got in the ring in Madison Square Garden in March of 1994. So thank you, Razor and HBK, because of this number 6, we have our number 5. Number 5 coming in from WrestleMania 17. It is the famous, the infamous Mania itself, but this is probably the biggest car crash matchup in WrestleMania history. It is tables, ladders, and chairs 2. Edge and Christian versus the Hardys versus the WWF Tag Team Champions at the time, the Dudley Boys. What was your thoughts on this one? This crazy, crazy matchup.
I think this probably one of the first crazy spot fest matches that we all loved. Everything from the Edge Spirit of Jeff, Matt and Bubba crashing through all the 4 tables, We got all the interference with Spike coming out for the Dudleys, Lita coming out for Hardys, Rhino coming out for Edge and Christian, freaking Gores. You had
Colorado's.
Had the I remember I don't know how you call it, but Jeff trying to do the little climbing over the 3 ladders before he almost damn near died and fell off the top.
That would have been such a cool spot too.
If he didn't drop the last ladder, that definitely would have been dope. Spike Dudley catching the Dudley. What do they used to call the Dudley dog? Dudley dog,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Dudley
the
dog
Dudley
spots
dog.
Christian out there. Everything, man. That's a special match. A lot of people's favorites. Even casual, like I know a lot of casual fans don't even watch, and that match is held up to a lot. Like, hey, I remember TLC too. That whole match was just great.
That's
for
one
a
of
great
like the
Mania,
top.
nonetheless.
That's one of the top matches to show like a casual fan or a fan that's never watched professional wrestling. If you really want to like wow them and be like, oh, you want to see wrestling at its like craziest, like at a mainstream level, it's TLC2, and it's just like you said, like this is like the one that just stands out in so many fans' memory because some of these spots are just legendary. Like you said, the spear while Jeff is holding on onto the rungs. Just even spots that were blown, like you said, when Jeff was trying to climb those ladder, his whole swanton bomb from that huge ladder on the outside, and he only crashes. He only really crashes on Spike, and Rhino just slides on the other tape. It's just so many cool spots. Some of them don't go right, some of them do, but it's just you have to give it up to
with that
all.
sick chair shot to Spike, yeah.
You have to give it up to all 9 individuals that took part in this matchup because it's legendary, and it's the reason why WrestleMania 17 stands out in people's memories the way it does. Coming in at number 4, this is one that is, if you're up on the WWE Network, you know this is one that's been talked about a little bit lately. Coming in at number 4 is the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, going one-on-one with Kurt Angle from WrestleMania 21. It is Mr. WrestleMania versus the Olympic gold medalist. One of the funniest and cool rides as far as the build-up. It's a very underrated build-up, kind of looking with the WWE Untold documentary series on WWE Network. Looking back on it, it was a very fun build, but this matchup...
Kurt carried the build, let's be honest.
Yes, he did. But talk about a match that had very high expectations, and for them to be able to exceed that and make it one of the top 5 greatest WrestleMania matches of all time. What's your thoughts on it?
Pretty much, you summed it up. 2 of the all-time greats going out of that Mania. I mean, what do you expect? Like, it's literally what do you expect? Everything from the technical things, Shawn Michaels trying to keep up with Angle, even though he couldn't. The spots in the match when Shawn damn near tried to kill Angle off the dive off the announce table because he thought he was going to reach. Angle catching us, the Angle slam off the top rope, which I love that spot. Even in the end with the storytelling of Shawn not trying to tap it, Angle having the ankle lock in for so long, and Shawn did not want to give up. And that's just another classic Mania match. Oh man, I want to watch it again right now.
I'm probably gonna go back and watch it again as well because this was one I was looking forward to so much on the way into it. I was a huge Shawn Michaels as well as a Kurt Angle fan. Shawn, you knew at WrestleMania, just brings it to a whole nother level. And Kurt Angle was the best pound-for-pound wrestler in WWE in my eyes in 2005 going into WrestleMania. So,
and honestly, the funny thing you say that, because honestly, they could have ended that show with that match, and that probably would have been one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time. But unfortunately, we got the sumo match, John Cena, JBL, and Batista Triple H main event. So, yeah.
It's okay. Sad. It's all right. They had to coordinate the two new top guys. I get that, but you are absolutely right. If Angle and Michaels main event at WrestleMania 21, we probably would look back on the whole show differently.
Definitely.
Coming in at number 3, we have another one from the GOAT WrestleMania, WrestleMania 17. It is none other than the main event from the show, The Rock defending the WWF Championship in a no disqualification match against Stone Cold Steve Austin. The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin, one of the greatest rivalries of all time, and one of the greatest trilogies in wrestling of all time with their trilogy
Mm-hmm.
at WrestleMania. You arguably can put all 3 matches that they had at WrestleMania in the top 50 WrestleMania matches of all time, and nobody would sniff at it. This one is the goat of all their matches, whether it was at a
Absolutely.
Backlash, whether it was on a Monday Night Raw or a SmackDown. This is their greatest matchup of all time. We just recently rewatched WrestleMania 17 to research this, as well as to look back on old WrestleManias. And
And
my
my
original
childhood
list,
being ruined.
it's okay. It's all right. We'll talk about that. I'm gonna get you can tell about that spot in that match. That's your one negative about the match now, but we'll get to that. But my main thing is that Drunk Guy JJ had this match at number 3. I had TLC at number 3, but I agreed with Drunk Guy JJ that The Rock and Austin is probably the best match at WrestleMania 17 because it really just has a level of realism that no other matchup on the card or in 2001 was really having. Austin to me has the 2 most realistic matches that I can show somebody and say this is professional wrestling. And if I show you Rock versus, can you hear that? Tonight is
Yeah.
WrestleMania. Okay.
What up, cuz? What up, cuz? Whoopty whoop. Whoopty whoop.
I'll probably tell Johnny. What time did it say on your end for that?
Uh, shit, I have no idea. Let me check down. Fuck, my bad.
It's all good.
512. Ironically, 512. My birthday. Go figure.
Okay, cool. All right. I'll tell him like in the middle when we get to number 3. Okay. So, so yeah, like the level of realism is just totally different from any other matchup that we've talked about so far, or any other matchup that you've seen at WrestleMania. Both guys being busted open, it just looks like a war. It just looks like an all-out fight to determine
And mind
who's the
you,
guy.
heading into that match, they were both face. This wasn't a blood feud. This wasn't a heel and face going. These are 2 top faces in the company going at it like this, which was nuts at the time. And I don't think any face. Well, but if you want to count Triple H, Undertaker, and Shawn Michaels matches at Mania, but this was the first time, especially for that time, to see 2 faces go at it like that. It's never. I don't think it's ever. Well, now it's been done, but at the time, I don't think it was ever done like that.
I mean, the only other time I really would say is off the top of my head is Hogan versus Warrior from WrestleMania 6 is like the only like major
Close
face,
to that, yeah.
yeah, baby face versus baby, like the top 2 baby faces going up at it at WrestleMania. That's really the only other time that I could really like think of before Rock versus Austin.
But this
But
one, they
this
tried to kill each other.
yeah, they went out there and they beat the crap out of each other. They hit each other with everything. We have the Stone Cold Stunner. We have the classic sell of the Stone Cold Stunner from The Rock. We have the Austin pulling out the rock bottom on Stone Cold. We have The Rock pulling out the Stunner on Austin. We got The Rock hitting the
Sharpshooter.
rock bottom. The sharpshooter callback. I forgot that part of the match that there's a
Yeah.
sharpshooter callback to one of our other matches that we'll name on this list.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, there's so many callbacks to other matches. There's a callback to Survivor Series 1996 when Brett versus Austin. There's just so
$1 million
many little
dream
things that,
spot. Yep.
that just like make this match just a classic matchup and are number 3 of the best WrestleMania matchups of all time. But you have one negative about this.
Oh, of course. I've probably watched this match hundreds and hundreds of times, and I don't know what if all of a sudden I always ask myself, why the hell after The Rock attacks Austin, he trips? Come to find out, Earl fucking Hebner is passing The Rock the blade to blade himself when Austin cracks him in the head with the damn ring bell. And then Austin as well, I think he goes in the ring, the exposed turnbuckle spot, Hebner's passing him the blade. I'm like, oh, god damn it. I never seen this. Ruined my childhood.
He's like the
Well,
little things you notice. Little things you notice when you
all
when
in
you
all, everything.
rewatch it.
Maybe you watch it exactly, but everything else, that promo, pretty much still one of the greatest promos to a match of all time. It's not even close. It's been a couple great promos, but that one leading up to, especially at that time, like this is when WWE first started even using regular music as theme songs and stuff for pay-per-views. That wasn't even really even done before until that time, and this everything. I mean, of course, the ending, Austin turning heel, which was stupid, especially for that type of crowd, but it made no sense. But I understand. But then again, if you think about it, even based off the build and the promos, Austin said he needs to win. He has no choice. He cannot lose this match. So he had to sell his soul, as JR made it known 100 times on the damn match that he sold his soul to become the champion.
They foreshadowed it in a couple of different ways. I've even we'll rewatch some of the Monday Night
Hey,
Raws and
me
the
too.
SmackDown
Yeah,
leading up to
the one leading up.
WrestleMania.
Yeah, leading up to Mania when Triple H helped Stone Cold win that match, and he didn't even bat an eye about it. He cracked Undertaker with the chair. I was like, oh shit, this all makes sense now. He cracked him with the chair. Austin just takes the pin. He doesn't even acknowledge that Triple H just helped him. It was the guy that just literally tried to kill each other a month before this. I'm like, what the
He
fuck?
tried to run
Now
you down with a car.
he freaking not. He freaking took him off a forklift and damn near tried to murder him. They tried to kill each other in one of another great match in the Three Stages of Hell, and you just
Yeah.
got an eye to him helping you win the Raw before Mania. Now it made sense.
Hey, there's a lot of stuff that you see now with your adult eyes that's totally different. But
See, great
Rock versus
storytelling,
Austin,
man. There we go. Great storytelling.
Rock Rock versus Austin was great. Was great as a kid. It was even greater watching it as adult for me.
Oh shit!
So coming
Again,
in
fuck.
already. Coming in at number 2. This is gonna get us a lot of controversy. I know someone already that's gonna be upset with us. I know our whole probably Facebook group, our True Heels Facebook group, is probably gonna get upset with us because this is their pick for our greatest WrestleMania tournament. This was voted on our poll on our True Heels group page. But this list is a compilation of myself and Drunk Guy JJ. So coming in at number 2 from WrestleMania 25, it is the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels going one-on-one with The Undertaker. It is Mr. WrestleMania versus The Streak. You have the heavenly light of Shawn Michaels versus the darkness of The Undertaker. It's a very underrated build-up to this matchup and just a classic
Amazing.
match. Another example of a
Sometimes it
match that
takes
had
hell getting into heaven.
another matchup that had high expectations and somehow, some way, they were able to exceed it. Tell me your thoughts on the match.
Again, we're gonna go back to storytelling. That whole match, even when Shawn they went back. I think they started the feud actually. This is when Shawn was JBL's little crony, and he looking in the mirror. He couldn't face himself. He turns up, Taker's behind him. Sometimes it takes hell getting into heaven. I was like, oh, this is crazy. And then it's the build up to that match, man. That whole match. Shawn coming down from the heavens in all white. Undertaker coming up from the darkness in all black. I'm like, yo. And then the match, oh man, the match is self-explanatory. Besides, Undertaker almost killing himself. I think honestly, wasn't it the last time he did the dive? No, he did the dive against Batista. Oh no, that was
Thank
before.
you,
See it.
Sim
It was the
Suka.
last time.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Sim Snuka.
for almost killing
Thank
Taker.
you.
Yes. Just a lot of great moments in that match, man. Shawn trying to keep up, trying to dodge, take every chance he could get, and almost believing that, oh shit, Shawn about to finally end the streak, but nope, couldn't stop the dead man. 30-minute classic.
Probably my top 2 or favorite near fall of any of the Taker streak matches is Shawn kicking out of the
The
tombstone and
tombstone, right? His
Taker's
face.
face. That's just an iconic shot of Taker's face in disbelief that Shawn kicked out of the tombstone, and then the finish is tremendous with the moonsault into the final tombstone and the
Tombstone,
one, two,
yep.
three. It's just a classic matchup. Definitely go out of your way to watch that. My personal favorite part of the matchup is after Taker almost kills himself. Is Shawn's desperation for the count out
The
win
count
as
out,
the
like
rest
he's like, fuck this. Let me
is
just get this
counting
count out.
is counting Taker out. He's like, I'll take it. I'll just take it.
He's like, come
I
on,
just
come on. Just
just
pull his
love it.
oh my god.
I just love it. Love it. So before we get into our number 1, how about you give the people, since you're already in your misery and you're taking full on shots from the bubbly, give them your your worst WrestleMania matchup in history.
Whew, man. I'm just gonna think of one that just comes off the top of my head because it's been a lot of bad matches. I'm looking at the cups. I could just say Orton Wyatt from Mania 33. Goldberg Brock, my first Mania. Brock at Mania 20. That's just I gave 2 already. I'm about to say we just talked about this. Undertaker and Giant Gonzalez.
That's definitely the worst Taker streak one. I'll give you my personal worst WrestleMania matchup in history: Jerry the King Lawler versus Michael Cole. WrestleMania 27.
27. Damn, that's crazy. I think I've named like 3 matches I was actually there for that. Oh God.
That was almost 20 minutes of my life that I would never get back. So, finally, we get to our number 1. Coming in at number 1, the best WrestleMania matchup in history is none other than from WrestleMania 13. Not the most popular WrestleMania, but my oh my, does it have a classic that changed wrestling. That's why it is number 1. Bret the Hitman Hart going one-on-one with Stone Cold Steve Austin, the submission match. Ken Shamrock as your special guest referee. As Bret and Austin, they just talked about this on the Broken Skull sessions. They wanted this match to feel like a schoolyard fight. So this matchup from the opening bell just feels like a full-on fight of 2 guys that absolutely hate each other. The story going into this, Austin, after winning the King of the Ring in '96, decided that he was going to target Bret the Hitman Hart, started talking trash about him, even though he was injured on the sideline. He even took out Brian Pillman, who was a friend of the Hart family. Bret Hart returned at Survivor Series in 1996 and defeated Stone Cold Steve Austin, but Austin kept targeting Bret the Hitman Hart. He cost him a WWF title match. He cost him the Royal Rumble and snuck his way to victory. And then he was defeated by Bret the Hitman Hart at the Final Four. Then Bret became the WWF champion. And then he screwed Bret out of the WWF championship, which led Bret to cursing on Monday Night Raw, beating the crap out of Vince McMahon. First time anybody got physical with Vince McMahon. So the shades of gray was already showing before WrestleMania. So when Austin gets out, you kind of hear the mixture of cheers and boos. When Bret comes out, you hear kind of mostly cheers, honestly. It's not till like midway through the match as Austin is like busted open. And by the way, Austin does a hard way bloodshot. I rewatched the match. You could legit see Austin just run his head into the guardrail, and that's how he gets busted open. He gets a small cut, and then Bret comes over and starts punching it in, so he gets a little bit of color, well, a lot of color, and then it's all over Jerry the King Lawler's paper for the pay-per-view because he still has it to this day. He still has the bloodstain format paper from WrestleMania 13 because that's how legendary this match is. But of course, you got the ending with Austin pushing up in the sharpshooter, blood going down his face as he doesn't want to quit. He doesn't quit. He passes out in the sharpshooter after over a minute in the sharpshooter, not answering Ken Shamrock for the final win. What's your overall thoughts on this match? And in your mind, why did it change wrestling?
Well, this was my first Mania watching as a fan, and everything about that match was amazing, and this set the tone for a lot because without Bret and Austin doing a turn, we don't get Stone Cold Steve Austin to how we know him today. We don't get that. He doesn't change the business. He doesn't get WCW to go out of business. It just changes so much. It changes the landscape of wrestling. It gets super mainstream that everybody's watching, and it puts wrestling as a whole on the map. So if we don't get this match, if we don't get this turn, we don't have none of the stuff we have now.
Absolutely agree with you. 100%. You hit it on the nose. The most successful period in professional wrestling history is the Attitude Era. And without this match, we don't have the Attitude Era. We don't have Stone Cold Steve Austin. This feud led to the beginnings of what led to Mr. McMahon, which is Stone Cold's biggest rival of all time and one of the greatest heels of all time. This led to the whole Bret Hart in 1997, which if you go back, you have WWE Network, go back and just just watch the Monday Night Raws from 1997 after WrestleMania up until like SummerSlam, up until like Survivor Series. It's some of the best television that WWE has ever produced, and a lot of that is due to the Bret the Hitman Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin rivalry, and all of that is kicked off right here with the submission matchup.
Absolutely. Even Brett played a part too. The first person to curse on Raw on live TV, and the first person, like you said, to attack Vince. Like that all led up to those moments. So we got Austin stunning McMahon at the Garden. Then of course they were well-known rivalry that paved the way for the company. So
Absolutely, and this led also
very
to
monumental match.
the Montreal Screwjob. So many legendary buzzwords and phrases that we're seeing just off of this one single matchup, and that's why it is number one as the best WrestleMania matchup of all time. So, Drunk Guy JJ, any plugs before we sign this video off?
As always, Instagram hacksaw_JAY_DUGGAN if you guys can't fucking spell. The Twitter, as the great Walter J always says, DATKIDSTYL3S. That kid J Styles. On Facebook, if you guys want to be creeps, Jaquan James, because that's my real name. And of course, you got to follow the Good Brothers. Well, all of us, because I'm a good brother too. I'm part of the Good Brothers. Got to follow the True Hill Heat everywhere. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. We might have Skype. We might start a Patreon. We don't know. Might do an OnlyFans. We might be getting bored out here. Corona's going wild. All that. Everywhere.
We are everywhere, and if you view this video and you haven't before, you can also check out our other video that we did. We broke down the 5 worst WrestleManias of all time. That's up on the YouTube channel right now, and Drunk Guy JJ will return with Going Raw with Drunk Guy JJ. We'll call it season 2. Because he's had his break with these empty arena Raws. We don't want to put him through too much, and he's had his break, so we're gonna go ahead and he's depressed. We're gonna call it Going Raw with Drunk Guy JJ season 2. That's gonna start up when Monday Night Raw produces new television for us. So
whenever if Raw keeps going, I might do a Raw after Mania. Give you guys some product.
There you go.
It's been a while, so
there you go. He's always looking out for you people. So signing off for Drunk Guy JJ. It is me, your True Hill Phenom SP3. And like this video, comment down below, give us your best WrestleMania matchup of all time. Push the subscribe button, push the bell to stay notified for more True Hill Heat.